How do you estimate the impact of a product enhancement or some change to the product? This is actually one of the most common interview questions that you're going to get across data science interviews, whether it's for marketing, growth, sales teams, or product data science roles. And for folks interested, I actually have set up product data science mock interviews where we will go through this exact case study question. So in general, the best way of estimating the impact of some sort of product change is to do randomized experimentation, where you split up either users or some other group of individuals that will get the treatment and others that will not, and you estimate the impact by comparing them before and after. Sorry, I started to get ahead of myself with causal inference methods. And you compare the groups that received the treatment to the groups that did not receive the treatment. But a lot of times what happens is your business partners or the stakeholders will push out a change without doing an experiment. And then they come to you afterwards and they say, hey, we did this thing a few months ago. We put a lot of money into it. We want to see if we want to put in more. What was the impact of that? And it's obviously at that point too late to do a randomized experiment. Now, this is where we start to get into causal inference methods. And you want to think about the structure of the problem here. Ideally, you'll have some group of people that were treated, say, in different regions or certain age groups, or people who met certain characteristics, and other people that were not treated. Or it might be certain countries that were treated and other ones that didn't. From there are some methods like difference in differences. You could set up synthetic controls. There's inverse probability weighting. It kind of all depends on the setup of the problem, like who was treated and when, and whether or not the people who were treated have like a time history, like a time series of the outcome already. So for example, if the people who received this new feature are, people who show up to the site and they are not logged in and they're just like people and they don't really have like a history of doing anything, you might use some technique like inverse probability weighting. On the other hand, if you have a feature launch in, let's say, a few countries in Europe, but there are other countries where there was not a feature launch, and here you might have something like conversion rates or user retention or some metric that has a time series before the change. Now you can get into methods like synthetic controls or difference in differences. So in short, when you're doing this for real or when you're in a case study interview, your first thought process should be, can I do a randomized experiment, an A/B test? And if for some reason you're unable to do that, if it's not feasible, likely because the product change already happened and you can't go back in time, now you need to start getting into these causal inference methods. And I do have some tutorials on that already. I put together a tutorial for difference in differences, but it might be a little buried in my videos already.